You're listening to the Telltale Channel. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check out my Patreon. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. There's this thing called transitional justice. What do we do after a dictatorship falls? People took denazification, like what happened after the war, and perfected it and used it in other areas like Eastern Europe. After the Soviet Union fell, there were a lot of dictatorships that sprung up and then fell. The study of transitional justice in law and psychology intersect. They had some of the right ideas in Germany after World War II, but it was the first time they were really doing this, and they didn't do it well. For example, in Germany, there was a document called the Fragebogen. It was a 131 question document that basically tried to categorize people into arch criminals or working against the Nazi cause, that type of thing. There were 5 levels between that. And because the organization wasn't very good, people filled out the Fragebogen 5 or 6 times sometimes. It was kind of a bit of a mess. And a lot of people didn't understand the reason for doing it in the first place. George Patton, General Patton, said Nazis aren't that bad. Why are we even doing this? This is just like a political party. Who cares? Let's leave the people alone. If they want to be Nazis, they can be Nazis. And it was this massive scandal that basically led to his retirement. Seriously. So the concept of transitional justice, here's the point, was solidified and clarified and outlined, and it was put into practice because, as we know, theory is different from practice. It was put into practice in multiple countries around the world at different time frames to get a grip on best practices, on how we do this most effectively, basically. They eventually kind of made the denazification process better by switching from a Fragebogen to a Meldebogen, what they called a Meldebogen, so that they could tear off the bottom of the sheet, which was signed by commandants or whatever, to show that they had filled it out and people didn't have to do it like 16 different times, that kind of thing. They perfected the system. So transitional justice is a whole area of study, and I am studying that area of study now. I've found a ton of books on the subject, and I'm going through the whole thing, beginning to end, because I want to know what we do about the situation that we're in right now. And the straightforward answer is this. There are 3 types of offenders in this situation. Just a reminder, I would really appreciate it if you guys checked out my Patreon. If you're not going to donate, you don't have to, but follow me there at the very least. owenmorgan.com/Patreon. Just in case something happens with the government or whatever. It would be really good if you had some way to connect with me and my content. I'm really concerned about that. And maybe you should consider that for other creators too. Arch criminals / direct perpetrators is category 1. And they will be sentenced to varying degrees of jail time or fines. Arch criminals aren't really separated in the system into like Donald Trump and Pam Bondi and ICE officials. They're all arch criminals basically in this system. And they are given over to lustration, vetting, removal from positions of public trust, and bans from holding certain offices. Let me give you, these are the 3 categories: arch criminals and direct perpetrators. These are people who personally committed or ordered clear crimes: unlawful detention, assault, family separations without legal basis, deportations, violating court orders, etc. They face criminal prosecution. The focus is on top leadership and those with the strongest evidence against them. You aim for dozens of high-profile convictions that establish a principle, not mass persecution or not mass prosecutions. The thing about what we're dealing with right now in the United States, though, is that in Germany, the whole legal structure was designed to forgive Nazi crimes. That's not the case here. The crimes that ICE is committing are currently recognized as crimes. They're being unfairly enforced. And that makes our lives that much easier because it means we can just enforce existing laws afterward. That's what happens to direct perpetrators. Category 2, collaborators or institutional actors, these are people who worked within the system and enabled it to function without necessarily committing prosecutable crimes themselves. Administrators, mid-level officials, people who implemented harmful policies, doctors, lawyers, those types of people. They are the ones that face lustration, vetting, removal from positions of public trust, bans from holding certain offices, not prison, but career consequences, and being barred from serving in the new democratic institutions. And finally, category 3, informants. These are ordinary citizens who reported on neighbors, coworkers, or family members. They face naming through a truth commission. Their collaboration becomes part of the public record, but they typically don't face legal penalties or employment bans. And the reason for this is because we want to encourage free speech. We don't want to ban free speech, but we want people to recognize that there are consequences when you directly lead to the deaths of your neighbors, basically. The consequence is social. Their community knows what they did. That's the bottom line. So anyway, that's transitional justice. That's how we pull out of this situation that we're in right now. That's how we guarantee that people do not get away with what they have done. That's how we guarantee that people pay the price for what they did. ICE may feel real comfortable right now shooting people in the face. Jonathan Ross may be comfortable shooting Renee Good and saying fucking bitch as he walks away, but just wait. He did commit a crime, and he would be considered an arch criminal or a direct perpetrator. And he's going to pay the price for that. The transitional justice is our pathway to get there, and I'm researching it heavily right now, and I will come back with a plan for you. I just created a new website, firesidewatch.com. You can watch videos with friends, and everybody can play or pause the video. I made it so I could collaborate with other YouTubers, but I figured I might as well make it available to everybody. On top of that, you can add videos to the queue, upvote them, and sort by most upvoted. Give it a look, firesidewatch.com. And while you're at it, check out my Patreon, owenmorgan.com/Patreon. You can follow me there for free. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. So Tim Pool and Nick Fuentes talk about this church that was basically protested recently by the left. Give this a listen.
In what might be the epitome of irony, Don Lemon, a gay black man, is facing criminal charges on MLK Day for violating the KKK Act, and I have no words. I can only say that we live in a simulation. There's no way any of this is real, and in all seriousness...
As you'll find out in a minute, he's facing the KKK Act or whatever because the modern day KKK, Pam Bondi and the Trump administration are using it against a black man to hurt him. That's it. That's what's happening. It is not some kind of he dressed up in a hood and burned a cross on a white dude's lawn or something. It is they are evil scumbags who are setting out to hurt this guy specifically because they don't fucking like black people or whatever. So anyway, let's keep listening and you'll find out what happened as we go.
Yes, jokes aside, Don Lemon was part of a group that stormed into a church.
No, he wasn't. That
potentially violated the FACE Act and the KKK Act. Harmeet Dillon of the DOJ said they are going to pursue charges, and Don Lemon's claim of it's just journalisming won't cut it, because there's potentially conspiracy charges in here as well. This is a wild story. Now, a lot of people think...
So let me tell you what happened real fast. There was a church whose pastor is an ICE field director. He's an ICE field director. And people found out about that, and they showed up to the church to protest. And they went inside during the service and protested him. There's nothing legally wrong with what's happened as I've described it so far. They were asked to leave a private premises, and they didn't. They gave them trouble. They did eventually leave. They just didn't leave when asked. That's breaking the law. Don Lemon went there to report on it and stood behind the crowd the entire time and specifically said on camera multiple times, I'm just here reporting on this. I am not involved in this at all. I'm just trying to get the word out about what is happening. He didn't harass anybody. He didn't attack anyone. He didn't join in chants. He was just there to record as a member of the media and nothing more. That is it. And it's reasonable to assume that they wanted people disrupting out. Don Lemon was not disrupting anything. He was standing in the back, simply recording what happened. So anyway, they're using a KKK law, basically, which was used to prevent the KKK from attacking people, I understand, or something to that effect. They're using this KKK law against Don Lemon because they don't like Don Lemon and they're looking for an opportunity to destroy him. That's what's happening right now.
It's not going to happen. They're not really going to charge the guy. I don't know if I'm so sure. I mean, Harmeet Dillon is not screwing around. If there's anybody I think in the DOJ actually wants to make moves, and Harmeet Dillon's specialty being protection of 1A and religious freedom, a lot of people are arguing that Don Lemon's
religious freedom was not disrupted here. People are perfectly free to worship the way that they want, and they were not prevented by the government from worshiping the way they wanted. They were subjected to protest. And I looked it up. The maximum jail time, basically, for this type of thing, you don't get jail for this. The offense was these people were asked to leave a private premises, and they didn't leave the private premises when asked. That's the offense. Usually, the punishment for that is a small fine, up to $1,000, and sometimes probation for like 6 months, but usually not even that. It's typically just a small fine. But Tim Pool is framing it here like they're going to go to prison for 5 years and they're going to deserve it.
This is free speech.
And it's some kind of a violation of freedom of religion.
Protection of 1A and religious freedom. A lot of people are arguing that Don Lemon's, this is free speech. Wrong. Don Lemon being part of a group that broke into a church violates 1A.
They didn't break into a church. No, it doesn't violate the First Amendment in any way, shape, or form. They walked into a church that had an open invitation to anybody. You know why I know so much about this? Because Jehovah's Witnesses deal with this all the time. It's called Kingdom Hall crashing. Here, this is a good example of a Kingdom Hall crash right here. This is something that happens to Jehovah's Witnesses all the time.
Spices. For the generation of 1914, for the lies, for the families that have been torn apart, for the shunning, this is for you. This is the covenant of Christ, and you guys are rejecting him. Don't you realize what's happening here?
This guy specifically sent me a message last time I played this and requested that I remove his face from it. So I am going to do that after the fact, but you get the idea.
Have a good night. Please don't knock on my door anymore.
And so somebody wondered, would you use pork?
He was invited in because the church had an open invitation to the public. He did something they didn't want. They retracted the invitation, and then he left. In a lot of cases, they don't leave immediately, and Jehovah's Witnesses, the elders, will surround them in a circle, lock arms, and walk out with them, or they'll call the police, and the police will escort them out.
Like, I'll take attention for a moment, guys. Real quick. While we have I want you to ask your elders about the two-witness rule, because the authorities are not called when children are abused, unless there's two witnesses to said wrongdoing.
We're going to ask you to leave.
Okay.
There, they've retracted the invitation. We're going to ask you to leave. He is now legally trespassing unless he walks out the door. A lot of the time, to avoid these problems, people will start walking toward the door nice and slow when they're asked to leave.
All right. Well, so just ask your
we have a very encouraging part this morning lined up. The title of the talk is Why Would a Loving God Permit Wickedness? And we have Brother Yano.
But there you go. He got his word in. That's the point. This area of law has existed for a very long time. People have been getting into Jehovah's Witnesses kingdom halls for a long time and criticizing them openly and loudly because that's the only way you can pierce their bubble sometimes. This isn't an anti-Christian thing. Some would say that this is a pro-Christian thing. This is an attempt to get Jehovah's Witnesses to line up more directly with what Jesus would want, which is love and peace and kindness and happiness and treating everybody as equals, rather than what Jehovah's Witnesses are doing, right? There's nothing anti-religion against or about what's happening with these Kingdom Hall crashes. And the reason I bring this up in the first place is because Tim Pool is framing this as though this is an attack on religion. No, it's not. It's not. These people that broke into... All right, let me rephrase. These people who went to the church to protest or broke into, as Tim Pool frames it, were there to communicate that this ICE field officer who is acting as the pastor of this church should be more Christ-like. This is no different from Kingdom Hall crashing. It's identical. I just created a new website, firesidewatch.com. You can watch videos with friends, and everybody can play or pause the video. I made it so I could collaborate with other YouTubers, but I figured I might as well make it available to everybody. On top of that, you can add videos to the queue, upvote them, and sort by most upvoted. Give it a look, firesidewatch.com. And while you're at it, check out my Patreon, owenmorgan.com/Patreon. You can follow me there for free.
It is not 1A itself like he tried to claim, but we're going to get into all of that. Plus, holy crap, everything going on in Minneapolis. The New York Times published a story, an opinion piece saying, in Minneapolis, I glimpsed a civil war. They've changed the headline. I think people are a little shocked by it. But indeed, we are seeing pedestrians beaten. The storming of a church, as already mentioned. Leftists are going around stalking vehicles and telling them to pull over. There's a video of engineers being accused of being ICE agents.
I love it how ICE is acting as a terrorist arm of the U.S. government and invading cities for no reason, attacking people, harassing people, literally shooting people in the head. Not just Renee Good either. And he's hyper-focused on people's reaction to it. Absolutely wild.
They harass and beat a random guy for simply supporting ICE. It is getting...
Okay, a random guy. No, he's talking about Jake Lang, who staged a pro-ICE protest in Minneapolis after Minneapolis has been ravaged, attacked, and destroyed by ICE. And Jake Lang was basically pelted with water balloons and told to leave. By the way, Jake Lang is the dude who brought a baseball bat and swung it at officers on January 6th. He swung a bat at officers, at just like police on January 6th, and was pardoned by Donald Trump. So some random guy who said he supports ICE did nothing to anybody? Tim Pool is like the most disingenuous, full of shit, lying douchebag on planet Earth. He's up there. He's one of them.
Absolutely insane. So we'll talk about that and a whole lot more. Before we do, my friends, make sure you go to castbrew.com and pick up some delicious Cast Brew coffee. Now,
oh my God, dude. What is it with scam artists and making their own coffee brew? In all seriousness, you know why that's happening? Because there's some right-wing company that's sponsoring these nutcases, and they sponsor them basically by making their own brew of coffee. It's so stupid, dude. Well, it's a good idea, actually. Shit, maybe I should do it for the left. That'd be awesome.
With every single person you've ever met, literally, I just take the URL, send it to grandma, send it to...
Okay, come on, Tim. Just move on.
This.
Hi, what's going on?
Not a lot, I guess. For a lot of people, it's you. After your trip in Miami and, you know.
Yes, after we went hard.
We
pulled
did.
up to the club. And,
Myron's getting you guys in trouble and the club's mad. And
yes, well, we got too lit. You know, that's what happens when you have too much motion. We pull up to the club.
I think
it's an incident. Internet.
If you don't know what he's talking about, let me just show you real fast. It's a short video. I'm going to have to censor it, but here you go. It was Fuentes, Clavicular, Sneeko, Myron Gaines, and some other people who were in the back of a car, a party bus. They show up to a club and they played this. He's doing a Nazi salute right now, of course.
Juice man! Juice man! They don't understand the things I say on Twitter. They don't understand the things I say on Twitter. These niggas out here. bitch.
These people are the most embarrassing human beings on planet Earth, dude. I swear to God. Like, not only are they bad people, but they're so fucking embarrassing. Imagine being like these people. Oh my God. It's so bad. Anyway, point is, that's what they're referring to right now.
Nationally.
You know, it's interesting because for the size of your show, it's a big show. You have an outsized presence. So my point here is, I don't actually think you need to introduce yourself of all the people we've ever had on. Like maybe Ye, right? But who are you? What do you do for those that might not know?
Well, yeah, I'm Nick Fuentes. I do a show called America First on Rumble, Monday through Friday. I'm a live streamer, and I'm the leader of the Groyper movement.
Well, right on. We finally got you on the show. It'll be interesting. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of angry people, but, you know, it'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
You requested Ian to be here as well.
Yeah, I love this guy.
Yeah, man, we talk about fractals. We were getting into it earlier today, maybe deeper as the night goes on.
We'll see where it takes us.
Particularly, I'd like to talk about geopolitical strategy with you. I feel like some people think they see like the boisterous or like the performative stuff, and they think that you're like not serious, but you're actually a brilliant like strategist, as far as I can tell.
I think he is very good at strategy, actually. I agree.
Thanks.
I always appreciate your work, man. I appreciate what you're doing, and but I want to know more. You know, we talk about Zionism and Israel and Judaism and all of the world. Tate Brown, talk me through to the next step.
What is going on, Patriots? We've got quite a show tonight. I'm excited, but yeah, just happy to be here. Phil, what's going on?
Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Labonte. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an
That's so sad, right? The lead singer of All That Remains.
anti-communist and a counter-revolutionary. Let's get into it.
A counter-revolutionary and an anti-communist. What a piece of shit, dude. Seriously.
Here's the big news from the day. We've got Don Lemon responding to Trump's DOJ threat. The Trump DOJ's threat, stands by his coverage of anti-ICE protests at Minnesota church. So we got to slow down and go through where this all begins. And we've got a lot to break down. And this image, I think, really does exemplify it. A group of leftist extremists stormed into a church, disrupting mass and freaking a lot of people out. This photo's gone particularly viral of a...
Again, I'm just going to lay it out here. Jehovah's Witnesses, or ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, I guess, do this because Jehovah's Witnesses are doing something wrong theologically, right? This is a religious issue that should be adjudicated in religious forums, not in legal forums, exactly. If they broke the law, then they should go through the court system, I suppose. But, you know, they're doing exactly what Jehovah's Witness Kingdom Hall crashers do. They're doing the exact same thing. Also, there's something else I want to mention. Hold on.
Mass and freaking a lot of people out. This photo's gone particularly viral of a scared and crying child with his parents.
Also, like, this is a church that supports a modern Gestapo. That is unforgivable. And I don't believe this. I don't want anyone to think that I believe this, because I don't believe this. I'm a pacifist. I've heard people say, though, that they feel that Nazis should live in fear again. We are in a situation in the United States where Nazis don't live in fear anymore. And I feel like, and a lot of people that aren't me, because I'm a pacifist, feel like it was a mistake to make Nazis feel so comfortable being out about who they are, and that some people would want to make these people worry about being shot if they come out as the Nazis that they are. Again, I'm a pacifist. I don't believe in that. I'm just saying what some people have said.
This is a crime, in fact, and a lot of people are calling for Don Lemon to face charges. Now, appearing on the Benny Johnson show earlier today, Harmeet Dillon confirmed they're pursuing charges and that Don Lemon has no excuse.
This is a state-level issue. It is not a federal issue. The federal government has no place to be involved in this in any way, shape, or form. And also, it's at worst a Class 3 misdemeanor and is subject to, $1,000 fine at absolute most. I guess in some cases, I think the literature or whatever says up to 6 months jail time, but that literally never happens. At most, it's probation for 6 months, suspended sentence. Even then, it's in the most egregious cases. I don't know why the federal government's involved here. Just a reminder, I would really appreciate it if you guys checked out my Patreon. If you're not going to donate, you don't have to, but follow me there at the very least. owenmorgan.com/Patreon. Just in case something happens with the government or whatever. It would be really good if you had some way to connect with me and my content. I'm really concerned about that. And maybe you should consider that for other creators too.
So to set this up, after tons of people on the right said he should be charged, Don Lemon, all these leftists, but also Don Lemon came out and said, I followed a group in and I did journalism. Well, here's what Harmeet Dillon had to say.
Absolutely. He did journalism. He specifically on camera multiple times said, I am only here to film. I am not with these people. I'm just recording what's happening. And that's totally fair.
We will pursue charges in this case. I see various crimes that have occurred. Exactly what they are, I'm not going to flag, but the FACE Act has been mentioned as one of the predicates there. In other cases, the Biden DOJ used the Klan Act conspiracy charges tacked on to the FACE Act in the case of protests outside abortion clinics to bring much longer sentences. So there are a number of tools available to us. Who funded this? What else? What other crimes may have occurred?
Sorry, who funded this? Always got to be some stupid fucking conspiracy theory behind this. It can't just be that people are unhappy about the fact that this pastor was an ICE field director or is. It can't just be that Trump is very unpopular. It can't just be that, like, we don't want to live in an authoritarian system. There has to be some conspiracy, like, underlying this whole thing. The FACE Act, Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act. This isn't a clinic, first of all. Second, as far as I know, they weren't preventing people from walking inside. They walked inside. Using force, threat of force, or physical obstruction to interfere with someone obtaining or providing reproductive health services is what's prohibited under the FACE Act. The same conduct targeting anyone exercising their First Amendment right to religious freedom at a place of worship is also covered under the FACE Act. They weren't preventing people from going inside of this place. The Klan Act, conspiracy to prevent federal officials from performing their duties, conspiracy to intimidate witnesses or jurors, or conspiracy to deprive people of equal protection of civil rights. Or conspiracy to deprive people of equal protection or civil rights. That's what the Klan Act. How the fuck does the Klan Act even apply here? What are you talking about? They're looking for people to hurt. They're looking for an opportunity to make an example of people that they don't fucking like, that they want dead, ideally. That's what they're doing right now. That's what the federal government is doing. Vile, as Meldrock says. I don't see many reproductive health services happening in that Nazi church. Yeah, absolutely not. That being said, it does apply to this church, I believe, in the sense that, like, if somebody was genuinely doing something like preventing them from getting in, then they could genuinely be charged with that. But that's not what was happening at all, obviously. They're looking for an opportunity to hurt people that they don't like. That's it.
Was there a use of the wires or the mails?
Oh, yes. Again, this is not a federal issue as far as I know, is it? Maybe it is a federal. Maybe the Klan Act and the FACE Act are federal issues, but like just simple trespassing, that's not a federal issue.
In preparing for this event, did anyone cross state lines to do this? All of those are potential predicates for additional federal charges.
Now, she goes on later. Let me see if I can jump to the part where she gets to Don Lemon specifically, which is where it gets interesting. Because initially, it's like, okay, she's just saying all of them, and he's wrapped up in this. And then let me see if I want to I should get the timestamps. There we go.
Identified. Don Lemon himself has come out and said he knew exactly what was going to happen inside that facility.
No, he didn't say that. He said he knew that they were going to be there, so he got his camera to show up to record the events as a journalist. He didn't say he knew exactly what they would be doing or whatever the fuck. Just complete nonsense. Complete.
He went into the facility and then he began, quote unquote, committing journalism. And as if that's sort of a shield from being an embedded part of a criminal conspiracy. It isn't. And so
these people are fucking vile. I said it once, but I'm going to say it again for good measure. He was not part of a criminal conspiracy. He showed up to record what happened next. That's it. He was recording. He didn't take part in any kind of criminal conspiracy. He didn't hurt people. He did whatever garbage she wants to make up. Complete nonsense.
So, we're getting our ducks in a row. We're putting the facts together, and this is a very serious matter.
Following this, we've got a little bit more to add on to the issue as well. Let me see if I have the tweet pulled up. Here we go. This is what Don Lemon said in a stream before going in that people are saying is incriminating.
Into Minneapolis a little bit ago and did some reconnaissance on the ground, speaking to an organization there that's gearing up for resistance and protest. I've been pleasantly surprised to see the community coming together.
What's wrong with this? What did he say that was wrong? I don't understand.
Diverse community. If you see this, when we first pulled up, we're like, wait a minute, which operation are we at? And as it turns out, because we're like, well, this is kind of MAGA coded, right? So the American flag or whatever, but these are resistance protesters. They're planning an operation that we're going to follow them on. I can't tell you exactly what they're doing, but it's called Operation Pull Up. And it's Takima Armstrong, and she has been doing this since George Floyd.
What's wrong? What are they saying he's guilty of here? I don't understand. He's just saying he found a group of protesters, walked up, asked them if he could follow them to whatever they're doing, and they said, sure, that's it. What's the big deal here?
Dante Wright and others, where they surprise people, catch them off guard, and hold them to account. And so that's what we're doing here. And then after we do this operation, you'll see it live. And these operations are surprise operations. Again, I can't tell you where they're going.
So that was what he said in the beginning of the stream. He's now responded. Let's pull up his response. Don Lemon stands by his reporting, quote, "It's notable that I've been cast as the face of a protest I was covering as a journalist, especially since I wasn't the only reporter there. That framing is telling. What's even more telling is the barrage of violent threats along with homophobic and racist slurs directed at me by online MAGA supporters and amplified by parts of the right-wing press. If this much time and energy is going to be spent manufacturing outrage, it would be far better used investigating the tragic death of Renee Nicole Good."
Or the Epstein files. Can we get that same energy for the Epstein files, please? I would really appreciate that. Thank you.
The very issue that brought people into the streets in the first place, I stand by reporting. Now, he had made comments saying this was a First Amendment issue. Don Lemon defends storming. He says this is what the First Amendment is about, the freedom to protest.
Absolutely. That is 100% what he was doing.
I'm sure people here don't like it, but protests are not comfortable. Well, I got bad news for you, Don. The FACE Act says you can't protest at abortion clinics or...
That's not what it says. It says you cannot block the entrance to abortion clinics. What that has to do with going inside of a church, I have no fucking clue.
Places of worship, and it was intended to protect abortion clinics, not places of worship. So when he comes out and says this was the First Amendment doesn't protect your right to storm onto private property.
Yes, it does. As long as that private property has an open invitation to the public, it absolutely does. Once your invitation is retracted, you must leave. But you are perfectly within your rights to walk onto private property with an open invitation, like a Kingdom Hall, like a church, like a whatever.
And disrupt what they're doing, especially protected groups. These are your rules. These are social progressive rules about protected categories. The 1A that was violated here was the churchgoers who are minding their own business on private property. So it's not going to fly. But the one point I want to bring up, and I'll throw it to the panel, the question is this. Simply put, I'll give you a handful of scenarios. There's a bank robbery about to take place. And a guy says on camera, hey, these guys I just met are going to rob a bank. I'm going to go with them and film what they're doing as they do it.
That's very different from a journalist getting a tip off that a bank robbery was about to happen and then showing up to the location while the robbery takes place to record what happens. That's very different, first of all. And second, this wasn't a bank robbery. This is at best, Class 3 misdemeanor when they were asked to leave. Entering was not a crime. Not leaving was the crime. Everything out of this dude's mouth is a fucking lie. Every word is a fucking lie. I don't understand how he can be so completely full of shit with everything that he says. It's impressive, really.
Okay, will that person be criminally charged after the bank robbery? Absolutely. There's no question. He's going to go in. They're going to say you had advanced knowledge of a crime that was being committed. You sought to benefit yourself off it through filming, whatever you were doing.
Again, showing up is not the crime. Not leaving when you're asked is the crime. So protesting by walking into a church, not a crime. He didn't have advanced knowledge of a crime. He didn't know they were going to refuse to leave when they were asked to.
That's insane. Now, if the same guy in a different scenario said, I know a bunch of people are going to go obstruct a roadway, they're going to stand in an intersection and link arms together, would that guy be charged? No, it's civil disobedience. The issue is not whether or not you had foreknowledge of a crime, it's the degree of the crime.
Oh, so this is like a bank robbery. You're saying it's the degree of crime, and not leaving when asked to leave is closer to bank robbery than standing in a roadway. I see. Got it.
So Don Lemon had advanced knowledge of a potential felony, conspiracy against rights, Klan Act, and he said, I am going to go in with these people onto private property without permission to film and call it journalism. So I think he is going to face charges. But the big question and the easy question now, which I can throw to Nick, is what do you think would happen if a bunch of Groypers announced they were going to storm into a synagogue and someone who was in support of the Groypers said, I'm going to go and film it all? Do you think that guy would be charged?
In support of the Groypers. I mean, it wasn't just some guy in support of the Groypers. This is an actual legitimate journalist, a real legitimate journalist. If a real legitimate journalist stood in the back and talked about what was happening and said, I am not a part of this group specifically, and didn't contribute in any way to any of the chaos or whatever, he shouldn't be charged. He was literally just there recording the events and nothing more. But aside from all of that, these people are the biggest fucking victims on planet Earth, dude.
Absolutely. And that has happened. It's funny because the other major use of the KKK Act during the Biden admin was against Charlottesville protesters, actually. Charlottesville was in 2017. And I don't know the exact year, but during the Biden admin, you had people being charged 6 years later with the KKK Act, saying because they were carrying literally just a lit torch in public, on a street, on a sidewalk, that made it intimidation. That made it a violation of the statute. They threw them in jail. And I would say that this is my frustration with the whole administration. Just put them in jail. Just arrest them.
So he's saying, like, don't give them due process. Don't give them or don't wait for them to actually commit a crime, them being me and you, of course. Don't wait for any of that. Actually just come in and arrest us. We're to the left of hunting immigrants for sport. Just arrest us. He wants new gulags. Again, Nick Fuentes supports, like, Stalin, loves Stalin, has talked about Stalin a bunch. So it comes as no surprise that he would support putting us in gulags.
Because when Biden was president and January 6th happened and they locked people up for Charlottesville, they didn't have Merrick Garland going on Rachel Maddow and saying, well, there's a predicate and here's how we're going to justify it and blah, blah, blah. They did shock and awe. That was literally the phraseology they used. Shock.
Wait, Charlottesville was in 2017, wasn't it? Quite a few people were prosecuted and imprisoned for Charlottesville. James Alex Fields Jr., the car attacker, ran over a protester, pleaded guilty to 29 of 30 federal hate crime charges. The Rise Above movement members were charged. DeAndre Harris beating, parking garage assault caught on video. Jacob Scott Goodwin got 8 years. Alex Michael Ramos got 6 years. Daniel Borden got nearly 4 years. Tyler Watkins got 23 months. Richard Preston, KKK Imperial Wizard, got 4 years for firing a gun toward a black counter-protester. Tyler Eugene Tenbrink got 15 years for firing at a counter-protester. Later indictments in 2023, nearly 6 years after the rally, a grand jury indicted multiple people on felony charges for carrying flaming torches with the intent to intimidate, carrying a maximum penalty of up to 5 years. Almost all of these charges took place under Donald Trump, not under Biden, but like a few additional charges were given to some people in 2023. They are such fucking perpetual victims, dude. They cannot help but to frame themselves as as perpetual victims. It's a joke.
Riots in the Obama admin, Fauci, a lot of announcements about this, that, and the other. No accountability. So I say you got to just start throwing these people in jail or you'll get more of it.
Yeah, and during the Biden administration, we saw a lot of people go to jail. Trump himself got arrested.
Good. They deserved it. They broke the fucking law. You think you're immune from prosecution if you break the fucking law? Did they imprison Tim Pool? No, they didn't. You know why? Because he didn't break the law. Did they imprison Steven Crowder? No, they didn't, because he didn't break the law. Did they imprison Ben Shapiro? No, because they didn't break the law. You don't break the law, you don't get imprisoned. See how that works?
His lawyers got arrested. Steve Bannon, Peter Navarro.
Hell, you know what? Nick Fuentes didn't get imprisoned. He was put on the no-fly list, I believe. He was questioned by the January 6th committee, if I'm not mistaken, but he wasn't imprisoned. Alex Jones wasn't imprisoned, but his co-host, Owen Schroyer, was imprisoned for January 6th. You know why? They didn't go for the most high-profile people because they knew better than to go inside and do stupid shit.
Navarro went to jail for a prison. I think I don't know if it's jail or prison. It's contempt holding, so I don't know.
Peter Navarro deserved it. Steve Bannon deserved it. Steve Bannon, I think he was charged with contempt for refusing to testify to the January 6th committee. He could have gone in and just said, I plead the fifth to everything. And he chose to go to jail to make a statement.
Would you call that one? And so far we've gotten these weak charges on mortgage fraud.
Yep.
That's just potential mortgage fraud.
My concern of a reason of why you wouldn't charge these guys like Don Lemon and his cohort was that, like, what did they do? Like you were saying, Tim, if it's a bank robbery, that's one thing. If it's going on a protest on a street corner, well, that's another thing. Did they just walk in and yell and leave? Did they hurt somebody?
Let me ask you a question. If a group of people said they were going to break into your house because they wanted to condemn you and surprise you.
But this wasn't a house. This is a church with an open invitation to anybody.
And Don was like, I'm going to go in with them. Is that breaking and entering?
Yeah.
Okay. Ian seems to know this is bullshit, right? He seems to know.
So I want to make sure I'm going to go in with them. Is that breaking and entering?
Yeah.
So I want to make sure I'm clear. This is a public accommodation. It's a church. So typically you can just walk in and then talk to them. However, if your intention is disruption, you're not invited in. Actually,
no, that's not true. Everybody is invited in. Everybody's invited in. You have to retract the invitation. It's a public invitation. Again, I know so much about this because I was a Jehovah's Witness growing up.
You know what? I'll do this. A better example is the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. This is a law that's been used to go after tons of hackers.
I'm sorry. Why do we need other examples? We can just look at what fucking happened. We don't need examples that are not accurate at all.
For the past 20 years, and it states unauthorized access to a server is a felony. But what is unauthorized access? It's literally been construed as if you have a URL that is, you could type it in and go to it, but they did not give you permission to enter it. They've literally
Okay, this is complete bullshit.
Charged people for that.
This is bullshit. No, he's probably talking about the case where basically a state website accidentally exposed social security numbers. It was just right there in the code. Everybody was downloading it because they didn't realize they did it. And somebody opened the website and looked at the code and found social security numbers there and told the state, guys, social security numbers are just printed out right here. And they charged them with a crime. It was the stupidest fucking shit I've ever seen in my life, and a prime example of people who don't understand what a fucking computer is legislating and making judicial decisions for us. That's probably what he's referring to here. However, that was like an edge case, an example of people not knowing what's going on. That doesn't happen. That is so incredibly uncommon. It didn't set precedent. That's just not how the world works in reality. So no, this doesn't apply in any way, shape, or form, actually.
So I know it's online, but the general idea is just because it's a public accommodation you can normally walk into doesn't mean you can walk in with the intention of shutting it down, filming, not getting permission, all of these.
Yes, it does. And when you're asked to leave, you must leave. It's a public invitation. It's open to the public. You made it available to the public. The public is allowed to be there. until you retract the invitation on a case-by-case basis.
Understood it. It's a crime what they did. I just don't want to see people get overcharged.
Well,
that's my concern. Then the other side or whatever will be like, well, they're the political prisoner now, and then they have a sign with Don Lemon's face on it. And it's like, oh my God.
The people who stormed in unquestionably committed a crime.
No, they didn't. The people who refused to leave committed the crime.
This is private property, and again, progressive rules. This is a protected class.
He has no idea what he's talking about. He's completely fucking clueless.
They're in a place of worship, exercising their First Amendment rights to exercise the religion as they see fit on private property with open doors. And these people said, we're going to go in, shut it down, and scream at him. Don Lemon.
Dude, I'm sorry. Don't you love it how he said, progressive rules, they're a protected class? Don't you love it how, in his heart of hearts, he recognizes that people to the left actually want to help other people, and that people on the right are trying to hurt minority groups?
Says, I know about this in advance, I'm going to go with them. And we all know that he has sympathies and he agrees with them. That being said, I think they should face the more serious charges under the FACE Act with conspiracy against rights. I think Don Lemon should get a slap on the wrist. I'm not going to sit here and say like Don Lemon should go to prison for 20 years or anything crazy like that.
But these people should? Is that the implication here? Are you saying that these people who walked into the church to protest should? Do you know what happened? Let me just show you a video. I should have done this already. The head of the church, I don't know if he was pastoring at that moment, but the head of the church is an ICE field director. By the way, this is exactly what Jesus did. This is what Jesus did. He actually did this. In fact, funny enough, this is Hitler's favorite verse of the Bible. It's in John 3:22, maybe, I don't remember, where Jesus braids a whip, goes inside, and whips the shit out of the Pharisees, because, of course, he hated Jews. But anyway, the point is, Jesus did this thing. This is something that Jesus did. This is a very Jesus thing to do. Here, this is what happened.
You can see all these pretend Christians, all these comfortable white people who are living lavish, comfortable lives while children are dragged into concentration camps. You're living real life, nice lives with your lattes, doing absolutely nothing for your Latino and Somali brothers and sisters. You come here to a man wearing a suit as a preacher? Did Jesus wear a suit? Did Jesus profit off the words? No! Jesus would dine with immigrants. You do not touch me. Touch me again and see what happens.
Hey, you can't leave.
You are a fake.
Right here, the invitation has been retracted. He needs to leave legally.
Christian, why are you not standing with your Somali and Latino communities? Why do I not see you out at Whipple every day protesting this attack on humanity? Where are you? You're sinners. You're pretending to be Christians. Well, we know you live an easy life, don't you? A very easy life while people are starving. Shame.
Well, while people are being sent to concentration camps. That's the most disturbing thing about it to me. People are in concentration camps. What happened in the United States, dude? I'm telling you, man, I did this whole transitional justice episode on my main channel, I believe. If you haven't seen it, you should go watch it. It's basically about how we perfected denazification after World War II. Denazification is now an area of study called transitional justice, transitioning from dictatorship to democracy. And it is about what we do with the criminals, all the way down to the regular extremists after democracy takes root again. I don't want to go through the whole thing again. Just check out the video. That's what we're going to have to be focused on moving forward.
You a very easy life while people are starving. Shame. Out now. Out now.
Yeah, see, they're yelling. This is a clear indication that their invitation has been revoked, and legally they need to leave. They should have left. Again, like, the charge for this is like $1,000 fine, usually. It's just $1,000 fine. It's not like they're looking at 10 years in federal prison or whatever. This is a class 3 misdemeanor, if it's even taken to that. Usually, these cases just drop the charges. The churches almost always just drop the charges, or the whoever drop the charges in cases like this.
Living real comfortable while the people starve.
Now, this is not illegal. He is walking around on public property, seemingly, telling people that they are guilty, and he's correct.
Living real comfortable while children are dragged into concentration camps. You're all living real comfortable, aren't you? Shame on you. Do something. Stand with the Somalis. Stand with the Latinos. Quit ignoring this injustice. He wears a suit and tie, and he hangs out with Kristi Noem. How is that a Christian? You're supposed to accept all immigrants, are you not? Why are you not going down to Whipple and joining us in protest against this inhumanity? You claim to be a Christian. Act like one.
So that's what happened at the church. And they're pretending that this is an insurrection or some stupid shit.
I think he should get a desk appearance ticket and be like, you committed a crime. He should go before a judge that should say, Mr. Lemon, if you ever have advanced knowledge of potential felonies, I advise you not to follow them in the...
This is not a felony. Again, this isn't even a potential felony. At best, this is a class 3 misdemeanor. At absolute best.
Building, you're going to be under 6 months of court supervision. Thank you and have a nice day.
I just put a tweet into the Slack. There's a video of Don Lemon saying it's uncomfortable and traumatic, but that's what protesting is about. If the intent is to intimidate people, which is what he's trying to do by saying uncomfortable and traumatic.
Okay, if that's your definition, then literally every protest is an attempt to intimidate people. They are so desperate to turn them into terrorists for protesting. Protest is our right as American citizens, and you can go f*** yourself, you anti-American scumbag.
He's committing a crime.
Don't make me defend Don Lemon, bro.
I'm not making you defend him.
He's talking about what they are doing, and I agree that I think... I somewhat agree with Ian. You don't want to go crazy and create martyrs and rally people. Don Lemon did something wrong, but he's not an organizer. He's just he's an activist who sympathizes, and he filmed it. But so he should go before a judge, and the judge should be like, one more time, and we're locking you up, 6 months court supervision.
But to your point about creating martyrs, like they're going to create a martyr out of him anyways. They're going to treat this as if the left is going to treat this as if it's some massive attack.
See, I don't believe that this guy really believes this stuff. I don't believe that Tim Pool really believes what he's saying. You cannot convince me that these scumbags actually believe this nonsense. This is complete trash. There's no basis, no foundation to this whatsoever. And they have to know that is exactly what Republicans do. They create martyrs. Who the f*** creates martyrs on the left other than people who have genuinely been shot in the face? These people are so delusional, dude. I don't know what to do with it. I keep reminding myself that only about 30% of the country believes the nonsense coming out of their mouth. Unfortunately, that's 30% of the country. The fact that it's not 8%. I mean, 8% would be too high. But as we know, 7% of the United States thinks that chocolate milk comes from brown cows. So I guess I can expect pretty much anything from about 8% of the country, is the point. Just insane, dude.
On the First Amendment.
Of course,
that's what they do.
But are you really suggesting you think like Don Lemon should get felony charges and face more than a year in prison for?
I don't know that he should get felony charges, but I do think that he should be charged, and I don't know that a desk, just a
court supervision.
This is really just like a fine. This is almost a civil infraction. It would be a civil infraction if not for the fact that people genuinely do absolutely terrible stuff in the process of this. Like the KKK genuinely used to go in and really f people hard. So like in some cases, this is actually bad, but these people, this is not one of those cases. This is no different than Kingdom Hall crashing. In fact, it's identical to Kingdom Hall crashing.
Usually for first offenses on things like
Something
this.
like that?
Because the face act's a misdemeanor.
Okay.
So look, for the people who stormed in, no, I think they should 6 months minimum, maybe longer.
It's a fucking misdemeanor at best, bro. This stuff is almost always just dropped.
You know, it's always wild to me that the criminal justice system wants to put people in prison for a year, 2 years for things like driving on a suspended license, a year in jail.
Part of the reason why I think that they should throw
That is pretty intense. A year in prison for driving on a suspended, that's pretty bad. I will give him that.
Driving on a suspended license, a year in jail.
Part of the reason why I think that they should throw the book at him, though, is because it will actually set precedent that the administration is going to come down. Right now, the administration has a very bad track record so far.
Bro, what?
People are very upset because there's so many people, like to Nick's point, there's so many people that they were expecting to get arrested. Whether or not there was justification, there's a lot of people that are like, well, we expected this, we expected that.
So you're saying that there were a lot of people who we expected to have arrested, even though there was no justification for it. We're going to have to start arresting people, even though there's no justification. Is that what you're saying? What is wrong with you?
They should be doing whatever they can to throw the book at them. And I'm not saying they should overcharge them. I'm not saying they should create charges.
I'm sorry, that's what it sounds like you're saying.
But whatever they've done, whatever they're found guilty for, they should throw the book at them.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I mean, like, I don't even think we're setting a new precedent. I think we're just continuing the Biden era precedent, which is, again, you have to make examples out of these people because, like...
So if you didn't like that people were charged with the crimes that they committed, then maybe don't commit those crimes. You ever knock that one around the old noggin? These people are disgusting, dude. Seriously. What broke in their brains that made them think any of this is okay? That made them think that they're the victims in this situation? This is wild.
The timeline we're heading down right now is really grim. It's really grim stuff. And
no fucking shit. Because of you. You are making it grim.
And these leftists, like, if you can put away a few people like on the fringes, that's not enough. You need to send a message to these people that, like, no, look, we are going to break you.
I'll give y'all.
We're going to break you. Are you listening to these people? This is insane.
All this, and I'm curious what you think about it. Mm-hmm. Don Lemon during J6 said they're terrorist insurrectionists that should be locked up.
They absolutely were terrorists, insurrectionists, and should have been locked up 100% beyond question. Yes.
Drew no distinction between Steve Baker and there was another journalist, literally from a local news outlet in the South. He had his big corporate camera, those old school SDI ridiculous things, and it was him and like two other journalists, Steve Baker and two other.
Are those ridiculous? SDI cameras are ridiculous? I don't understand what is. Are you complaining about SDI cameras right now? What's your complaint about SDI cameras? If you don't know, SDI is like, it's basically like coax cable. You know the cable that comes into your house from the street and gets plugged into your cable modem or whatever? Yeah, that's what SDI looks like. And it's basically the highest quality that we have. It gives us the ability to transmit 8K live or whatever. It's pretty expensive. I don't have one, but I do have a port for it. And I've considered getting one, but I don't think I need it. Anyway, what's your complaint about SDI, bro? Like half the people on planet Earth don't even know what it is.
The journalist, this one guy, they all got charged. Don Lemon never came out and said, hey guys, hold on, some of these people are journalists, as far as I know. And if he did, correct me if I'm wrong.
There were no journalists that were charged on January 6th. What are you talking about? Journalists who were just there were not charged, who were recording the incidents, who were watching it take place and transmitting to a news organization. That didn't happen. What are you going on about? You are a perpetual victim, Tim.
I looked for it. I asked our AI friends to try and double check for it. I've seen nothing notable from him in that regard. If his attitude towards the J6ers are everybody who wins the same, there's no distinction of the people who weren't at the riot and walked in or the journalists who were there, they shouldn't have been pardoned, they should have been charged, then I say, okay, Don, I'll see you in prison.
That didn't happen. What are you smoking? He's saying he believes that just like cameramen at January 6th who were just recording events were charged with a crime? What the is he going on about?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And it's not even just a message to him, but to the entire left wing.
Yes.
And you're so right. Precedent is the word, because the reason these people are so bold, rioting, looting in Minneapolis,
that's not happening. There is no rioting and or looting happening. At best, there's rioting against ICE. These people are not trying to damage their own homes. They're trying to prevent ICE from feeling comfortable in their city, seems to me.
They're doing right now. The reason they went into a church is because there's never any consequences for the left. There's never any accountability. With the right, and what's funny is what happens with the right, they just get the book thrown at them. There's no defense.
Dude, these people are perpetual fucking victims.
Ashley Babbitt, was there a big discussion in the national press about was that justified? Was that overkill?
Yes, there was, from the right, actually, but it was completely and totally justified. She was trying to tear down, or she was trying to tear down like a window to get into Mike Pence, who was on the other side, and he was holding a gun to her or whatever, and people yelled, "Gun!" And she continued going in anyway, despite the fact that somebody yelled, "Gun!" She crawled up on the window after someone yelled, "Gun!" and she got shot. That was her fault. She did that. I'm sorry that you don't like that. There's no excuse for Ashley Babbitt. She was the up that led to her own demise.
No, absolutely not. But the left knows they get away with literally murder and every other thing. So I think you got to crush them. You got to make an example out of them. And then the next...
I'm sorry, just a second. Do you know why this is happening right now? Because the left was f***ing murdered. Somebody was literally murdered and the right got away with it. How can you possibly sit there and say the left gets away with literal murder when that's what we're complaining about the right over right now? It's all projection. It's all projection. Everything that these people do, they blame the left for. It's insane. And I'm sorry, man, you cannot convince me that they don't know exactly what they're doing. The people on this screen, at least, know exactly what they're saying and doing is projection.
Next time people think twice and say, I don't know, should we storm the church? We might go to jail like those other people.
And to your point, like, I think the fact that this is a church matters as well, because it is the left does want to intimidate people that are Christians.
Yeah. I'll give it a rest. You're such a victim, dude. The left doesn't want to intimidate Christians, okay? A massive number of the left are Christians.
Do you want to? Yep. And this is coming from a guy that's agnostic, right? Generally. I mean, I was raised Catholic, but I'm generally kind of an agnostic guy. And the way that the left operates, they want to do everything they can to intimidate Christians, to intimidate Catholics, because that's why they did the whole, the Christian nationalist. This is Donald Trump's going to be a Christian nationalist, blah, 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 blah.
Well, he very clearly is governing like one. Yes, obviously.
They want to have Catholics and people of faith, they want them to be demonized. And that was why they did it. So I do think that it's important to really...
Yeah. Are you kidding me? People on the left want Christians to be intimidated. Please.
Kind of smack this down.
Let's jump to this video. A visibly upset. That's what Tim.
That was fucking painful, dude. What is wrong with these dumb motherfuckers? Really? That was the stupidest shit I think I've heard in a while. And that's saying something. Jesus Christ. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. That's all I've got for you. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check me out on Patreon. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. Okay, thanks for watching, guys.